Hi, my name is David Dowdy. I own Action Coach Lake Norman, your local business training, education, and coaching firm for both businesses and executives. And I am excited to have Christian Mossberg on the line with us today for the Business Spotlight. And Christian is CEO of FCO USA. And Christian, great to have you on the call today, and look forward
Thank
to
you.
what you have to share. So tell us a little bit about FCO and your story, if you would, and then we'll get into some of the
Sure.
questions.
FCO as the mother company is in Germany, producer of all the equipment that goes into valve maintenance, so high pressure systems. In effect, you're looking at nuclear, military, oil and gas in those systems. So not your home valves, if you put it that way. And it's everything from grinding and lapping up to when you test the valve. So what we do here is that we are a standalone company that takes care of the Americas. So all from
Okay.
Canada down to Chile. And a pure sales organization. Of course, we got some service on our machines, and
Hmm.
also we can also do all the training and everything that's around it.
So you're a service organization for existing valves. Do you produce the valves, or are you in the
No,
equipment?
only the equipment. So we
Okay.
produce the equipment. So when you want to do when you want to service a valve, so just to give a quick, so people know a little bit what we talk about, because
Mhm.
this is a sort of a niche field.
Yeah.
So if you think about a normal valve in your house, when you turn off and on the water, it's usually it's you have a little nozzle and it's a little plug that comes down and it closes and it opens, right?
Yep.
Then you got you're a little bit mixed, different ways that can happen, but that's just the simple valve, right?
Hmm.
Open it. So when it's low pressure, you got like a little rubber seal that comes down and closes, and sometimes you have to change that because it starts leaking, right?
Right.
Well, we look at steam, like a lot of this, like on a steam turbine or something like that. Then you got a lot of valves on there that regulates the system off and on, but also the flows. And because it's steam or corrosive material, whatever that could be, like a paper mill, you can't have rubber. It's rubber seals, and it's hard with a soft seal overall.
Right.
So what you do is they have metal against metal. So it's just like same function, but it's metal against metal, and it has to be more or less mirror finished. So when you do
Gotcha.
service on that, our machines goes in and grinds these. They can also cut them out. You can replace the seats. And then at the end of this, you want to test them. And we got the testing equipment for that. So, but we do not do the service we got because there is always a risk. If we would do that, we would lose our customers, all the service companies. So that's one of our
Gotcha.
majority of the customers. So
Gotcha. Okay. So it is some fine tuning, some very precise machining that you're doing
yes,
for this high pressure. Okay. Well, excellent. So you've been over, I think you said roughly 5 years
yep.
in taking over this business. So if you had to do it all over again, what do you think you might do differently knowing what you know now?
See, it's a good question because many times uh, I try, when you reflect backwards like that, many times it's the situation that was at that time
Right.
that keeps your hands a little bit tied to what you do. And sometimes, so is, yeah, maybe I should have acted a little bit faster on certain things. But then, of course, we got COVID in between. So
Oh, that's
I
true.
think we actually steered through that pretty good. But sometimes, you could have been a little bit quicker on decision, a little bit firmer on certain staff that hasn't been effective. So, but many times, when you reflect back like that, and I think that's important because we have a tendency like, oh, I should have done that instead. But you got to think back on that time when you took whatever decision you took. This is the information you had. You're not. It's hindsight 2020, right? The
That's
old
right.
lesson. And yeah, I think more. I try to reflect on what did we do good. Can we do that better if for the future? Because we are still working with the information we had back then.
Yeah.
That's a little bit how I think about it. But yeah, we could have been. There's certain decision makings that I could have been like, okay, let's go. Um, so I would say that doesn't really give much, but I think it actually does
Mhm.
because I think when people reflect, and I learned through the years that I do a marketing plan every year, like you should, and I think I'm probably one of the few that actually does it, even if you should. The only reason I do it, because yeah, I can show that to the owners, they're not going to read it. In normal cases,
Right.
they will a little bit to be kind to me. But the thing what I do is that because that contains a 1 year plan, a 3 year plan, and a 5 year plan, which is everything is the 1 year plan. You try to keep that kind of firm on
Hmm.
what your steps are. The 3 year plan and the 5 year plan, they're movable because you don't know. You could get a COVID, or you could do like we did last year, where we kind of almost doubled the turnover.
Right.
Then it puts you in a complete different situation. We've done the goals that I set up 5 years ago. They were done in 3 years, so
Hmm.
then you need to change your goals. Um, and but what I do is when you look back on that year, is actually a lot. So when I do the next one, so when I sit down and I do the 2025, I go through, okay, what did we do 2024?
Hmm.
What boxes did we tick? Did we succeed with what we set out to do? And I think that is very, very necessary. That's equally necessary to when you're doing your plans for 2025, because it's otherwise you're just running, but you never get to the goal.
You
You
mean you
need to
need to
find
slow down and reflect just a little bit and
that is
yeah.
exactly you don't really it's more to sit down, take the time to do it,
Hmm.
because we always run on the next topic. There's always something happening. But you just need to set a couple of days and go through, okay, what happened? What
It's
did we do?
interesting you say that a couple of days to do the deeper dive on that, whereas in my experience is most people are lucky to spend 20 minutes doing it
Yes.
if they do it at all, right? So yeah, that's good. So you've been here in the role for about 5 years, and not sure what your background is before that, but coming into this CEO role in the U.S., then what are the things that you might have learned in this process that may have been different, or gosh, what would you say to somebody that is looking to come to the U.S. and take on a CEO role for a company like yours? You know,
I
doesn't
had
look.
one, yeah, one advantage was that I'd been in the US 2 years prior, way in the 90s studying, and I've done business with the US afterwards. But it's still a system shock, right?
Yep.
Because first and foremost, you got to be honest to yourself. What do you know? What don't you know? Don't think. Don't try to cover your not so grand knowledge, right? So when I went into the bank the first time, I went in and I talked to this girl, and I looked at her and I don't get fooled by the age. But treat me like I'm 18 and just moved from home, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
Hmm.
But if you can go back to that, if you can lower yourself to that, a lot of people have pride. Forget the pride. Be eager to learn. Be curious, because every system is different, and people work the different ways. So coming from a European system where everybody works for 4 weeks of vacation or 5 weeks. So they work the whole year to be able to take that long vacation, right?
Hmm.
Everything on that work year is focused around that for a normal worker. So, which I understand,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
So they got their cabin, they're going to do their 1 week in Greece or whatever they're going to do, right?
Yep.
Everything is planned for that.
Hmm.
And then you come here, you got almost for most of the people, not all, but most of the people, you got similar, like 4 weeks of vacation or five, depending. And if you work for a long time, you probably got six, right?
Yep.
But we never take them in a row. So there's always good weather in the U.S. somewhere. So, so whatever you like, if it's snow or if it's beach. So
Right.
so we take the here instead, we kind of use the whole year. We take a long weekend here. We go with the kids during the summer. We do
Mhm.
this. It's not so focused on one long chunk of vacation. So you kind of spread it out a little bit.
Right. Right. And
So I try to explain that a normal American is not so stressed over their job because you live with a job in a different way.
mm,
Europeans got much more focus on, well, I'm just working, and soon as I punch out, I'm done, I'm home.
interesting.
And
Interesting
it,
difference.
yeah, and it's very very strict. I personally, this suits fits me like a glove because I never had the long chunks of vacation. I just can't do it. I got too much uh, energy that just if I sit on the beach for too long,
Yeah.
I need to do something.
Well, fortunately, here in the Charlotte market, we've got the best of all four seasons, and
Yeah.
the mountain's not too far, the beach not too far away, so it's pretty good. But it's interesting. A few minutes ago, you mentioned how you do your annual planning, and the 5 year goals you hit. I think you
Yep.
said in 3 years. So, what do you attribute some of that growth and the success to? Is it purely your phenomenal leadership, or is it some
I wish.
other things that come into play there?
Now there is a because I'm not young anymore, right?
Right,
So a couple of things that you learn. Of course, you got to have a pretty good leadership. You got have to have good people around you,
right.
and also be able to delegate. But there is one very foundational rules especially when it comes to sales. Whatever industry you're in, it's weird, but the harder you work, the more you work, the more successful you get. There's a lot
Interesting.
of, but a typical small business disease is that you go out and you sell really hard. I start getting in orders, then you start sitting down. Then all of a sudden it's empty again, and you panic, and you go out and you do the whole thing again. So you're getting
Yep.
it looks like this the whole time, the whole year. And if you're
Right.
lucky, you actually don't drown in that because it has complications with it. So the trick is always to try to keep a steady line of business the whole year. Keep
Consistency
pushing
is, yeah.
even if you got and if you don't if you got salespeople. So we structured our company a little bit different. And it could be an advice for medium-sized company maybe. So instead of having salespeople out in their own districts and they're fighting against each other just as much as they're fighting against the customers, right?
Hmm.
Or fighting with the customers, depending on how you see it. But
Yep.
so what we've done is that we got a what I call our indoor intelligence, right? So we got three girls that sit. They do all the quotation. They take care of the customers, and then we got the ground sales staff that does all the shows. We have a demo trailer. They go out with that one together with technicians. They go out and do sales meetings. They take it up to a point where you start getting close to a firm quotation and so forth.
Yep.
That job in our because it's so much technical, that takes a load of time, when you start getting into the quote.
Yep.
On a test bench, we're talking about maybe a week to 2 weeks because you need to go through all the, not that it's like a 2 weeks workload, but you need to get a hold of that person.
Yeah.
Then you need to
Just the
talk to
cycle.
that technician. It just takes time. So what we do instead, I want to have the sales guys out in the field. If they're sitting on their computer at the office, they're actually not working, even if they are.
Yep.
So it's better that I have really good staff doing that does it quicker, that knows all the drills around it, and then get the sales staff out there and work as hard as they can. And so we have so our bonus system is more on the company progress. So
Hmm.
higher salaries, a yearly bonus. If this was a larger company, then we probably divide that into different sectors of the company.
Right.
But
Okay.
that's how we do it. It's a way to free up staff when you're smaller. Because if you're small and you got sales guys, you're going to have one really good sales guy, and the rest is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing a lot of business on the okays.
Right. Yeah.
So trying to combine that, and it's so far has been really, really good. But that's a
Well,
trick
it's
on
working.
how we do it.
It's working for you. So
Yeah.
when you've mentioned a few times how about the people that you've got on your team. So what do you look for, whether it's a salesperson inside, outside, or other team members? What do you look for in a character or, yeah,
But when you look at character, we first and foremost, someone, and I like that one. They said make sure they laugh at the same time as you do, right?
mm,
That's a foundation to everything, and then it's the dedication. So people sometimes get really focused on the education and so forth. I would rather look at what did you work at before. If you're from a different industry, can we take this? Is there knowledge that you have that we can actually apply into our business and
yeah,
make us change a little bit? See if we can get a little bit better somewhere. But for me, it's one of those soft things, It's the whole character.
yeah,
It's not so much your education, because we're doing sales. Uh, if I uh, if I hire a sales engineer or an engineer trying to make a sales guy, that's kind of hard because a lot of engineers don't want to be sales guys to begin with. If you can find one that's good,
yeah,
then it's fantastic, right? But it's really, really hard. And in our industry, it's so niche. So
yep.
yeah, it's really, really hard. So we need to look for people outside. And the only thing I can say, it's you got to look at the whole picture, the character, what they worked in before. Do they have, when you call their former employers,
The good
do they have
references. Yeah.
good references? It is, and I think that because you can teach if you have a really good guy or girl, you can teach them all the technical stuff you want.
Right.
But
Right.
it's really hard to, if you don't like the character from the beginning or doesn't fit into the organization, because all organizations are different too. I shape mine the way I am, from my
Hmm.
personality, right?
Yep.
And that means that you need to fit into that. It's not a question on if you're good or bad. It's if you don't fit in, you're not going to fit in.
Yeah. Well,
So
well said. That's right. That's right. Well, this is great. So, I guess if I were to throw it back at you as to if you had one more piece of advice or words of wisdom for somebody that's either coming out of the gates with their own business or may have been established for a bit and kind of hitting a rut, um, what would you share or advise somebody to do that needs a little wind in their sails?
yeah, again, getting back to that reflection part
Mhm.
is super important because the reason for that is if you're trapped, say that you've been in the business for a while, because two different issues. If you're coming out new, then you need to have your plan. You need to kind of stick to that plan
Yeah.
and work with the goals, but also be realistic. Don't put goals that it's not even realistic because it's not fun missing all the goals, even if you're quite successful. It doesn't make you hungry. It's put goals, and it doesn't have to be financial goals. That's always a good thing to have, but also
Mhm.
like, okay, this is where we want to be. This is how I want the business to look in 5 years. So you have those because you need to. That's a motivator when you're new. When you've been in the game for a long time, many times when it stagnates is because you're doing the same thing. You're not changing anything. You can't expect anything to change if you don't uh, if you don't change yourself. So when you sit with the reflection, you go like, okay, we had another year looking exactly the same. Or normally, what happens is actually the numbers are starting to go down slowly. That
Mhm.
means that you're reaching the same customers the whole time. You're not going outside because it's comfortable. Your staff think it's fantastically comfortable because they know who to call. They don't have to.
Mhm.
They stagnate, right?
Yep.
So they okay. Well, what can we do about this? Get that reflection going. So this is what we do in a year. We do those shows. We're seeing these people. That's good because it's still our foundation of the company. Don't forget your old customers. But how do we reach something new? Can we go out and what I did here, just to give an example, I took 1 year, traveled like crazy to all kinds of shows and just walked them that could be related to our
Right.
industry that I hadn't been to or no one knew about it because and don't ask your staff because they know everything. They will tell you like, oh no, there's no point.
Right.
Now, I saw that 15 years ago. Go out there, but get your own perception. You're going to meet people anyway, so you're probably going to pick up business here and there anyway.
Sure.
Uh, but you're also spreading your name because you're talking to people. They see FCO USA wherever I go, right? I'm Mr. FCO USA. So you're sharing your business card. So maybe it's not business now, but maybe 2 years down the road, and that's what's going to save you later on. But you
That's,
have to be, and then you figure out. You sit at the year's end, and you go like, okay, I had 3 shows that I think actually can be really good.
mhm.
And probably what's going to happen is that 1 or 2 of them are really good, and the other one you can discard. But then you go for the next year, you say, like, okay, those 3 are going to be in our calendar this year, plus the old ones, because we're looking for new business. So it's
Absolutely.
not, you're not going to do that on the budget. You're doing it on the budget with the old business, but you got to have self confidence and say, like, oh, if we do this, hopefully we can increase by 10% or something like that. So you put that in that marketing budget. Yeah, with a rule that says it costs money to make money.
Mm.
If you don't want to spend on marketing, you're not going to grow. You are going to stagnate. You
Right.
have to spend the money there. It's going to give you tenfold back. That's the small piece of advice.
I
Just
love it.
from the
I love it. Well, Christian, I appreciate you being on here. And if somebody wants to learn a little bit more about FCO USA, what would you recommend? Uh, Website, LinkedIn?
yeah. I would recommend the website www.fcousa.com.
Okay.
Definitely because to understand what we do, you got to go in and kind of go through the equipment so you get a brief understanding. And if they got more questions, they're more than welcome just to send the company an email. And if they mention my name, then it's going to go to me, and I'll definitely help them out.
Fantastic. Christian Mossberg, FCO USA. I appreciate you being on the Business Spotlight today.
Thank you very much, David.